Welcome to Dating While Tamil, brought to you by myTamilDate.com, the best place to meet Tamil singles from around the world. It's been a hell of a few years. Dating has probably been a crazy minefield, if it's been a field at all. Today, we talk to a couple who's found love through this time, and hey, they're planning a wedding. Let's go meet them.
My name is Kiru, and this is my fiance, Rashid. We've been dating for almost a year. No,
A year.
it will be eventually.
About 8 months.
8 months, yeah. That's almost a year, right? Yeah, and we have a wedding coming up, and it is pretty soon. And we, I guess we both kind of always thought that it was always weird to be able to marry someone that fast and whatnot. But I think at our age and after all the experiences that we've been through, up to this state of our lives, that we just kind of know, when you know, I guess, right? And so
Absolutely.
we decided, well, you decided to ask me to marry you. So
Yeah, I did. So I took that next step. All the other moves were just her, but that was the final one I took.
he loves mentioning that.
Yeah,
So what he's saying is you pushed him into a corner and he was left with no choice but to present the ring.
Kind of.
Corner is called Kiru's Corner. If you know her page, then you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, to all you out there, let's just get that out of the way. How do we visit wherever that corner is? How do we find it?
You can visit it on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok.
Awesome. There you go. So just throwing out the socials.
Right, advertisement.
Yeah, it's slipping in there. I mean, I mentioned the corner first. Actually, that was kind of organic. I forgot about this. Actually,
I guess at this point we should also mention his page, Broke Studio. We should also mention that.
Oh yeah, I have a little singing page that I started with like no aspiration at all, and right now I'm sitting at about like a very minor amount of followers. Even though most of them are just like my family and friends, like I still
also he creates his own like 10 accounts and then subscribes to them. So yeah,
she sees the process behind the madness.
I'm also trying to build up like a personal training page on TikTok that I just started as well. I'm starting to like get more content out there, so let's see.
Well, I can see that's why you wore the dark sweater. It really shows off some more shadowy areas in the bicep delta region. That's cool. I understand.
Not part of my thinking at all when I put this on. I have a lot of dark clothes. Dark. We wanted to go.
It looks good. It looks good. You guys are almost the French flag. There's a little Eiffel Tower on your right. So
that's true.
Yeah, so is anyone here from France, or
no?
Is there just a love of it?
Yeah, I guess it's just pretty. I mean, I went to France once and I hated it, but I do love like the monuments and whatnot.
Shots fired. I guess the first thing I'll say is like we got a lot of information from you right off the bat. Usually it takes a little bit longer, but you started dating seemingly through the pandemic, yes?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
2021, so second year of the pandemic.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. When did it even start, right? So it's been so long. So you met through the pandemic, right? So obviously this whole thing is about how complex or simple dating can be. But it seems like through one of the worst times in our history that we can remember ourselves, I'm not judging any other types of history, but how did you guys meet? Like, what was the process? Let's go with that story first.
Sure. I mean, I would love to say it's through myTamilDate. And we were there. I mean, I was there, and definitely so we met at a mutual friend's wedding. And then we kind of just didn't keep in touch that much. Like here and there we talked and whatnot on Instagram. But 3 years later, I messaged him because I wanted workout tips. And that was literally the only reason why I messaged. For everybody that's watching.
Right. Everyone who's watching this podcast knows.
Somebody please be on my side. I literally messaged for workout tips.
By the way, she said this part of the story to like every one of my friend, every family member, and like they all think the same thing. It's like workout tips. That's right.
And then that day we started talking, and I guess we just connected really well on Instagram, and that moved to WhatsApp pretty fast, and we talked not even almost every single day, literally every single day. Yeah. And then you can finish the story.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we were talking a lot online, and we eventually started talking on the phone as well, and started doing some video calls and things like that. So we realized that even without meeting or hanging out, like we kind of liked each other. So that's when She asked.
Wow.
So
It was
finally,
not me. He asked me.
Threw her under the bus right
yeah,
there.
just a little bit of background. So I'm a big Liverpool fan. I have to mention that every podcast that I do.
You should have wore that jersey.
Yeah. We do have a Mohamed Salah bobblehead
If you
thing
can
in the back.
kind of zoom into that. And
I
see.
can kind of see it. Yes.
So there was a game coming up, and I just kind of casually mentioned, it's like, hey, next game, like we should get together and watch it. And at this point, like we still had not had a first date or anything that, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. So I kind of like just casually said it. I didn't think that she would be actually down to watch it, like meet up and watch it. So she asked me a couple days later, it's like, hey, we're getting together and watching that game. Where are we doing it?
Actually, I didn't say were we getting together. I did say, how am I watching the game? So clearly it wasn't me who asked him out. I just wanted to know, how are we watching this game?
So then, because there was a pandemic going on and like we couldn't go out anywhere to watch it, and
Everything
I
was
couldn't
closed,
bring her to my house to watch it. So I'm like, okay, the only option we have is we sit in my car and we throw up the laptop and we watch the game. And that is exactly what happened. On our first date in the morning at like 9 a.m., after grabbing some Starbucks, we sat down and watched the soccer game.
Yeah.
But you know what? 2 questions right off the bat. What did you grab from Starbucks, and what car are you driving?
Green tea matcha latte.
With oat milk?
With oat milk and half.
Solid.
Yeah, that was my favorite drink, and it still is my favorite drink for Starbucks, and I really wanted her to try it. She claims that she liked it, but 7 months later she can finally tell the truth.
No, I love her.
Of course.
It was an acquired.
She said all the right things.
I drive a 2020 Hyundai Elantra. It's not very spacey.
Yeah, putting up the laptop on the dash was not easy at all.
Yeah.
Hey man, he's getting you the favorite drink in an intimate setting.
Yeah.
Lots of technology. I mean, he knows what he's doing. I mean,
Yeah, he absolutely did. And then
you knew what you were getting into.
Yeah.
And we had a very long walk at what was it, Ajax waterfront?
Yeah, we started off at like
so we
this
parked
beach
and
in
watched the game.
Ajax, then we went to like a waterfront area. We had some lunch together.
We had lunch and by the beach, we ate by the beach. It was pretty perfect, gotta say.
So for all of the international viewers, all 3 of you, Ajax is a suburb close to Toronto, very close. So just wanted to let you all know that. So I guess the real thing is we broached the subject of meeting during the pandemic, but you met at a wedding before. So was there anything at that point that caught your eyes? Can you remember if it's like, yeah, he was cute. Like, I really want to talk to him, but it's not right now. Was there anything like that? Any sparks there?
So
well,
yes.
I should say, all she remembers is me walking with my hands in my pocket. That's it.
That is the only memory I have. I don't even know if it's true. I don't even know if it's a true memory. It's unfortunately.
What a loser.
She has like a goldfish memory, so like every 10 seconds, like just resets.
Yeah.
So
you remember?
Yeah, I do remember. I distinctly remember because like I sort of liked her, because I think when we met like one of my friends introduced me to her. So I was like, yeah, she's really cool, and we did have a conversation. I don't remember what the conversation was about.
But something to do with Instagram, because we ended up following each other that day.
Yeah. And then right after that, I asked my friend actually if like she's single, and he said that she has a boyfriend. So after that, I just like didn't really pursue anything. But yeah, we just stayed on each other's Instagram for the next 3 years until she finally decided to.
So with all those people watching and you guys think, hey, I don't talk to this person, I should just take them off Instagram. Don't, because they could be your future husband. You just never know.
Or another spin on that is, if you have a significant other and you see them adding someone on Instagram, maybe you should watch it, right?
Watch it back.
It was a spark initially. I think that's sometimes important. Although, like, I've been to many parties, you've been to many parties, there are a million of those sparks and they probably go nowhere. So you're saying you met there, and then what was the inception? What was it, 9 months ago, 8 months ago that you, or however long ago that you met and you what was the line? Did someone have a line like, hey, Liverpool tonight? Was that there?
Yeah, it was me. I was because I was in this journey of like, finding myself and like improving myself and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I really wanted to do was get more fit and whatnot. So then I saw he posted something recently. So I'm like, oh, I remember this guy. So I clicked on it, and then I was like, oh, he's a personal trainer. I'm gonna message him and see what's up. And then that's how it started. Even though he claims that it was a move and whatever, but it wasn't. It was
well, let's I don't want to decipher every little detail here, but this is important.
Yeah.
What was the line that you used?
Well, initially I didn't want to just be like, hey, I want some free advice, right? So I was like, hey, how's it going? It was a pandemic and India was really bad at that time. I'm like, oh, you're from India, right? I'm like, is your family okay? Do you have anyone there? Was anything happening? So I had to like chat him up a little bit. And then I asked him, by the way, I'm looking for workout tips and eating healthy and whatnot. Can you give me some advice? And then he gave me like a whole list of things to do and whatever. And then I guess, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, at that point, like I didn't think much of it because like a lot of people message me on social media and they ask me the same advice, right?
Look at this guy.
No, I mean, obviously, like I remembered her, and then I was still like, I was seeing some of her content on social media.
Yeah,
so, like,
he's never liked anything.
So I know, I completely understood, like, she's trying to maybe get into acting or whatnot, and like she wants to get fit, so she wants to get some advice and tips on that. So I was like trying to help her out a little bit with that. But it was that night where, for whatever reason, we switched from like Instagram to WhatsApp. I think I was trying
because our conversation just kept going for whatever reason, and then he said that he sings, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. So I was looking at his page, and he's like, oh, I sang a Tamil song, and I was like, whoa, I need to hear this Tamil song, and he wasn't able to send it through Instagram, so then we had to switch over to WhatsApp so he can send it.
Yeah,
that was his move. For the record,
that's true.
His move.
Well, also you can't send audio files on Instagram unless like you can, and like I just
you can
figure
say
it out.
Right?
I think you can. I think maybe you can now. Maybe at that time you couldn't. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I still want to go back to what you said initially. It seems like if I were to summarize, your line was, "Hey, are you from India? Can you help me work out?" Like that seems like the text.
Yeah. That was it. So I
was imagining him doing some curls.
Yeah.
Columbus.
Yeah,
pretty much.
So
we talked until 5 a.m. that night, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Those are the best, right? Like you're casually looking at the time, but whatever, it's like, oh shit, sunrise is coming.
There was actually a lady in Sri Lanka, like this horoscope lady, astrologer lady, who told me, she was like, your future husband is going to live very close to you. And then I was like, hey, well, look at that. She was right.
How long was it? 10 years ago.
That was like 10 years ago. Yeah.
Oh,
I never thought.
And 10 years ago, we moved into that house.
Look at that. But to answer your question, we did a lot of walks. So luckily it was in the summertime. So we went walking quite a lot, explored a lot of Toronto. And then we started having like little picnics where I would make him something or he would make me something. And yeah, it was nice. A lot of car talks. We just sit in the car and just talk. That's pretty much all you could do at that time, right? There was nothing else open.
It kind of reminds me of like if you were in high school, right? Like
exactly.
Let's just hang out in the car under a bridge and watch this movie. You got the one headphone split into each ear,
Exactly.
Yeah, I think everyone knows
blankets.
Like, when you have your car parked somewhere, like even if you're sitting with a friend or your girlfriend or whatever, like those are the best conversations.
It really is.
Right. So
really
we had a lot of great talks, and even when we went for walks and stuff, we talked a lot, got to know each other a lot. And luckily we both enjoyed like going outdoors and going on the trails and stuff like that, and just checking out new spots. So it worked out pretty well. Like we kept things interesting, like even in the beginning, like with the limited options that we had. But I think we just enjoyed meeting so much that it didn't really matter where we went. And that was what's most important.
Yeah. And to answer your separation anxiety, he was actually working night shifts and then I was working morning shifts. So we only had like an hour or 2 hours in between for our work to like make it work. So yeah, it was really tough.
It was really tough. Yeah. We're mostly meeting, like trying to meet weekends. Sometimes like I think I would drive over to her work first because her work was on the way to my work. We'd meet for like maybe an hour or so, and then I'd drive over to my work afterwards. So we tried different ways just to like make sure that we're meeting often.
And then he would finish work at like 2 a.m. and I would actually stay up, or I would put my alarm for 2 a.m. to wake up and then have a conversation with them for a bit. Yeah, you got to make sacrifices in the beginning.
I mean, those aren't in the totality of everything going on. Of course, that's not much of a sacrifice. But what I'm hearing is that you did push the envelope for yourself, right? Like this person works night shift. I'm here. I don't know, like. A lot of people might step away from that. And it's great to hear that, of course, you liked each other at the time and you're like, of course, I'm going to see them. But you're doing it. You're still going. And some people still like are in that mode, but are still too lazy to kind of do that. And the
Right.
pandemic's the ultimate reason to be lazy, right? Like to just sit around. I'm gonna throw on some Netflix and eat the drink the matcha at home, right? So
In today's day and age, it's really hard to find someone and someone that you actually connect with. And because we had this connection, I don't think we would have just let it go. I think we would have still tried really
We
hard
would
to
have
make
still
it work.
tried, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
whether it was weekends, maybe once a week or whatever it was that we're meeting, and then we're talking every other time. Then
Yeah.
I think we would have definitely made it work.
Yeah, like take days off work, so calling sick.
Yes.
hey, if you're lucky enough to have that, that's great.
True.
And I love how there is this thought sometimes that technology is really like a distraction, but it really enables all these opportunities. I harken back to the high school days that I compared you to. Yes, you could have all done that, and the fact that you live close together really is a benefit. But even if that wasn't, you could have always been on like these online calls, at least in today's world. I mean, we talk to our Alma and Uppas, they'd probably be like, "What? You just gotta walk for 3 miles to the next village." Or yeah, that's a big stereotype, but you know what I mean. Like,
And even
it's
our
much
parents,
greater
a
now.
lot of them were like fathers or mothers were abroad and whatnot, and they were just sending letters back and forth, and which was like maybe once a month, once in 3 months, they were getting letters back and forth, and that's how they made that relationship work, right? So I really think that when you want something to work, you can make it work.
Would that be your greatest advice in terms of how you guys have persevered?
100%. Yeah. When you want something, you will find a way to make it work, and if not, you'll find an excuse. That's what I live by.
My wife always tells me that too, because I'm not really like doing certain things at certain times, and she'll be like, if you wanted to do it, you would do it. Or and I'd be like, listen, it'll get done. Maybe just a little slower than you anticipate.
People talk about in beginning of a relationship is giving time, or even later in a relationship. They say that, I don't have time to give for like certain things, like meeting up, conversations, phone calls, whatever. And I think like what she said, like if it's a high enough priority for you, then you will try to find that time, right? I use the same example. I'm a personal trainer, so I use the same example for my clients too. A lot of them say they don't have time to work out, they don't have time to meal prep, whatever. I was like, if it's important to you, then you will find that time. We still have the same amount of time.
I get that lecture every day.
Yeah. So my advice would be very similar to for both for relationship advice and personal training advice.
He's basically like, like there's a little bit of sagginess under here. I feel like we need to put in some time. Drop everything and give me 20.
Yep.
What are your favorite partner exercises? Do you guys do any of those?
We do work out together, but we do not do the same exercises. Like my workouts are very different. Her workouts are very different.
Because we focus on different things, right? Mine's more of getting fit and lean, and his is more building muscles. I don't know what else muscles you need to build.
So yeah, we don't really do partner exercises, but it's a lot of like me counting her reps and watching her form and stuff. So yeah.
And me trying to cheat, but he's always watching me somehow. I don't know. He's in the middle of his exercise. He's like, 5 more. I'm like, how are you counting this?
I have mirrors.
You're only cheating yourself, right?
That's true.
So let's fast forward a little bit, right? Obviously, you're in the midst of like, congratulations, obviously, for the fiance title. It's not an easy title to get sometimes.
Yep.
However, how did that story play out? Who made that first move?
As soon as we introduced each other to our parents, they were like, okay, when's the wedding? Like, that's the only thing they cared about, right? When for us, we're like, we're still getting to know each other. We still need more time for that, and we're not ready, whatever. But I guess eventually we didn't really have control over that. But then at the same time, we just kind of couldn't wait to like start our lives together. We were already spending so much like time together afterwards. Well, not to get into too many details, but for whatever reason, we had to like end his job, and then we had to spend a lot of time together. And because of that, we're like, okay, let's just get married, because what else are we waiting for here? Because we pretty much
what else are we doing here? What is this for?
Yeah.
Why are we dating so much?
I think initially when we started hanging out, like we both discussed it too, and we're like, yeah, like first year, like getting engaged in the first year is like a little bit crazy too. Like you need at least like more than a year or 2 years to really get to know a person. You should live with a person for a little bit to like really find out those things as well. But for us, like due to some circumstances, like we did end up spending probably way more time with each other than we would have under normal circumstances. So we were like over at each other's houses a lot more, and like we kind of got that mini experience of like, living together, sharing a lot more things. So we got to a point where like, okay, like both our families are on good terms and like things are really good in terms of the relationship. Everything is really solid. So what are we waiting for? Right. That's the thought process I had. And I kind of knew that she wanted me to propose as well at some point soon. So I already started thinking about it. This was back in, I proposed in November. I started thinking about it in like October. So I started planning towards that. And yeah, that's when it happened, November 4th.
Was it a surprise to you?
It sort of was.
She's like, yeah, I knew the whole time.
It's really tough to surprise me. I just kind of figure things out really soon, so it's unfortunate for me. But initially, I didn't know he was just going to take me out for dinner, and so we're like, okay, cool, let's get ready for dinner, and then just got dressed up, and then we were driving for so long. Then he pulled up to the first place that he took me on a date, to the Ajax waterfront, and so I was like, why are we here? And then he gave me a rose, and I was like, okay, it's happening today. And he took me to all the milestones, like every single spot that we had a milestone at, and gave me a rose at each one. And the final stop was the banquet hall that we met at, and then he proposed there. So it was pretty well planned out. Yeah.
Well, I guess my question is, where were you hiding the roses? Were they just like tuxedo mask?
Yeah.
I mentioned my car's not that spacey, but there was enough space at the back to just kind of like shove it in the corner. And I would tell her to close her eyes every time I'm like going to the back and grabbing the rose.
Yes, because it wasn't obvious at all. That's where it was.
After the first rose, I think she expected the rest of the roses. So yeah.
Yeah. Every time the car stopped, I'm like, all right, where's my rose now?
Yeah.
It's like The Bachelor or something.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your parents obviously got together at one point. How early was that before the engagement? The official engagement, of course.
When did they meet?
Well, she met my parents first, like a month in to the relationship.
Yeah, which was so soon. I was like, what are we doing? This is ridiculous. I don't want to meet your parents right now. But then he has a very open relationship with his parents. They're like friends and whatnot. So they're like, oh, no, they just want to know who I'm hanging out with. It's no big deal. But like for Tamil people, it's like a huge deal. So I was like, no, I can't do this. But we ended up doing it, and it was great. I'm glad we did.
Yeah. And then I think I met her parents maybe a couple of months later. Yeah. And then they ended up meeting each other. It was probably, I want to say like
September, October?
August or September.
Yeah.
Something like that. September time they met.
I can't remember, but yeah. It was pretty soon into
and
our relationship.
It went pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
It was
surprisingly
not as tense as I anticipated. It was pretty good.
Did you get a lot of negative judgment from friends, family, or just people not criticizing but critiquing, like, hey, think this is cool? Like,
absolutely. I did. I don't know about you, but I did. They're like, because obviously a girl, you want to be more protective of, my friends are always more protective of me. Sorry, 1 second.
No worries.
And niece and nephews who are too loud.
When there are kids in the house, it's kind of hard to hit.
Well, it's good that you mentioned their nieces and nephews, because no one knows anything about you, so it's like surprise also.
Yeah, things really did escalate really quickly.
So you're a Liverpool fan, eh? That's
yeah.
That must be not very good right now.
No, it's good. They're playing pretty well. I mean,
obviously they're playing better than Manchester United. They're playing better than Arsenal. Yeah.
They're not going to win the title though this year. So
I should have worn my my PSG stuff.
Oh, your PSG.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, my a lot of my family is from France. I was actually born there as well, but I grew up here, so
okay.
I have to have some allegiance there. So.
Sorry.
You can edit out the French,
hatred,
criticism.
Hey, why did you hate France? How about that?
I got mugged there.
Oh, okay. That one person ruined an entire country for her.
But
Put it this way, it was probably you. It wasn't them.
Yes, I wore a cross bag, and then I had it in the back. That was stupid. It's my
you were
fault.
asking for it.
I was asking for it. Yeah, in the subway, and it was like super crowded, and yeah.
Don't like these people are professionals though, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I remember, and this happened to me, my wife and I too. But like, this guy just like unzipped the bag.
That's what he did to me.
Super sly.
Yeah.
And then he just went whoop, and he was gone. I'm like, this guy. I could see him kind of like in the background, and I'm like, this husky gentleman is very nimble. And good for him. Like
Wow.
we lost 50 euros, but I'm like, my hat goes off to you. Good
You
job.
earned it.
I lost $500.
Yeah, it was our
Yes.
fault.
And then all
Well,
my
that's
cards.
times 10 of what. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
That definitely sucks, and of course you'd hate a country for that. But anyways, moving on. I think you mentioned that your parents met, and when you mentioned that you have a very free-flowing relationship with your parents, obviously a lot of people are like you, because that's amazing. But you also mentioned that, like, Tamil people may not, like, it might be a little different stereotyping wise. So I'm gonna assume that you are of two different cultures.
Yes, yes. So he's from Bombay, from Maharashtra,
Mhm.
and then I'm from Sri Lanka. So my parents were not accepting of this at all. They were just like, no, like,
That's what I was getting at.
bring a Tamil guy home. And I was like, if I could have found one, I would have. It's tough, right? And you're not connected with everybody that you meet just because they're Tamil or whatnot. And there's 7 billion people in this world. You're not going to find someone in your exact race. Like, there's 7 billion people. Like, look around, right? So.
Yeah, I mean that. It's sometimes it's just the probability, the odds, and all of that jazz. How about on your side? Were there any issues marrying someone outside of your culture? I mean, people who aren't brown, let's say, will be like, "What's the deal?" But I think they'll understand in a way.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I think my entire family, like even apart from my parents, like they were always kind of open with that. And there have been other cases in my family where they have married outside of our culture as well. My older brother, married a Filipino girl, a few years back.
There you go.
So I think he kind of broke the ice, and like for me, it was a bit easier then. And I was like, at least she's closer to.
She's just a little self.
Yeah,
It's all
exactly.
good.
Yeah, but they're completely fine with it. I think they understand that if they brought us to Canada and we grew up in Canada, they can't fully expect me to like find an Indian girl and find a girl from Maharashtra, because we're in Canada and we're like exposed to like all types of nationalities and cultures. So I mean, it depends on who you click with. At the end of the day, they're happy that I found someone that I like.
Yeah, because at one point
Hey, that's a great
they were
answer.
trying to think that he was gay, so they were
Yeah.
like, "Okay, you brought a girl. We're happy. Let's do this."
And I mean, it has to be said. No, obviously, just like you quote Seinfeld. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
Of
when you
course.
go to the upper echelon of your lineage, they may have differing views, and I understand. I'm sure a lot of people do. You're on the journey to your wedding. Care to share when it is?
It's on June 2nd of this year.
Ooh, fancy date
Mm.
in the summer. How has planning that been in this
Oh,
pandemic?
yeah, that's always been a tough one. But luckily we chose a weekday so that we're hoping that more vendors are more available during that time, and it worked out in our favor. But yeah, we always have to make sure that we wrote in the contract about pandemic. We're like, if by any chance a lockdown comes down, we want our deposits back, or we want to make sure that you guys are going to come back and do our wedding on another chosen date. Like, we have to make sure that we talk about that at all times and put that in the contract, because we've heard a lot of horror stories where people don't get their deposits back, or they don't get that same date and all this stuff. So there's a lot of like intricate stuff that we had to talk to them about before we did.
Yeah, and there's still uncertainty. I mean, we don't know what the situation is going to be like in June. I mean, fingers crossed things will be okay. And like, based on the trend that we've seen in the last couple of years, like I think after March, April, things kind of die down a little bit. Things start opening up. So hopefully it's okay. And I mean, the situation's fine with COVID in terms of the variants and all that. So in terms of the planning and everything, we've tried to keep it as normal as possible, but we'll see. As long as everything goes okay, we're happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, let's say the pandemic wasn't happening, right? Let's say it was regular year, outside of that, before that, after that, whatever. How big would your wedding be, or small?
Destination wedding for sure.
100%.
Hands down.
So to everyone who's listening and everyone who knows you, it's basically like an invitation that they only want like 4 people there, right?
It's exactly true, because how brown weddings can be so big, and both of us don't want that. We want a very intimate wedding with people that we know by name, and they know us by name, and not like my mom's friend, sister's cousin or something that comes in. It's too much. But unfortunately, that is the way it's going right now. But we have about 300 people, which is sort of manageable, but yeah, it's still a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, some people are are scoffing, whoa, 300 people, that's manageable, you know. And other people are like, that's nothing. That was our day one of our wedding, day 5.
Yeah, especially because both of our families know so many people and we are very social, so we have so many friends.
Yeah.
It's just like cutting down on like the most important, I don't want to say most important people on you know, a recording here, but
It's spicy.
Yeah, it's just people that we are constantly in touch with is who we're going to be inviting to the wedding.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, anyone who's gone through the process, been to one, they kind of know. Oh, I'm sure you're not offending anyone that way, unless it's like Uncle Gobi. He's not coming. You know, I don't think that person.
We're kind of hoping that people will be understanding of the situation too. I mean, it is still a pandemic wedding, and people have seen like what happens with COVID restrictions and all that. So if we're trying to have like a smaller wedding, I don't think that should be like heavily criticized, but obviously there will always be that emotional component that, you know, like how come we weren't invited, you know, we've watched you grow up, I've seen you when you were the small, you know. But we had to choose at the end of the day, like, you know, there's only one person out of 2 that can come, right? So we have to make that decision.
Yeah, that's been tough for sure.
Well, that makes sense. Oh, you got your niece and nephews causing a ruckus. I love it.
Oh yeah, the other ones are over too because it's a Saturday, and so the house is going to be.
Oh yeah. So you have the wedding. What's the next step? Because some people don't know. It's really a simple question, but some people might not know. What's the next step for you after that?
We're looking for a place right now, so hopefully we can move into that as soon as we get married, and then it's just going to be him opening his gym. So we gotta hopefully COVID restrictions and all that stuff kind of dies down, and then he's able to open his gym and start.
Yeah, like my industry has been heavily affected, as you all know. So based on, you know,
My gut knows.
based on the trend that is moving in right now, like hopefully things will be normalized again, and I can start focusing on, you know, career a little bit more. And and I think after that it's just going to be a little bit more personal development and trying to find ways to just living together.
I'm getting into Hollywood, moving to Hollywood eventually.
Moving to LA.
Moving to LA.
Is that for you or for him?
Well, it's for me, but then he can also
Just
be a
solely
celebrity trainer, you know. So I'm like, it's a
Actually,
win-win.
LA is like one of the best cities in the world in terms of fitness industry. So I would be very excited for that.
I would hope that everyone knew that already, but to the people who don't, yes, of course. Hey, maybe you can start down here in Yorkville or something. There's a lot of celebrity trainers there too.
Yeah.
You know, the theme of this podcast was pretty much finding love in the pandemic, and you're basically the shining star example of how smooth it could be. Just put in a little bit of work. Hopefully it works out, because there's probably a dozen stories where they got to the Elantra try to watch a game in some way and it just didn't work. Maybe a hand went somewhere a little too far. You know, there's a lot of those stories. So it's great to hear that there is success, and despite living so close, but being from different regions of the world, it still worked out.
But I think at the end of the day, maybe our parents are like, okay, they're too old. Let's just, whoever they bring.
They're too old.
You know, in the brown community, we are like ancient right now. Yeah. So.
Okay, so that leads to the other question. How has your age affected your outlook on this process, like from the very beginning?
We're in our 30s. I think, like, for me, especially as a girl, this ridiculous stereotype that a girl has to get married way sooner and whatnot. So it's already been like really late for me. And so my parents were just like, okay, let's go, let's get married. And they were like looking for alliances and whatnot. And I was doing my part and whatnot, but it was just been hard to like find someone. And I guess for you were just like, I don't want to get married anymore.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it wasn't so much of an age thing, because like most of the men in my whole family have been married like in their 30s. So it's not like there was that pressure of age. But because like my brother got married and I was like the only guy left, and that was the next thing that like my parents were thinking about, right? Like the second after my brother got married, you know, like they're like, you're next, you got to find someone. That pressure already started. Yeah. So
the folly goes on, and then it's like, how about you? It's your turn now.
Like the camera moves towards me, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That pressure was definitely there. But I did try. I think at the time I was trying to find someone, but I got to a point where honestly I was like, you know, I'm over it, and I started imagining a life where, like, you know, I maybe won't find someone, and then I started to become more okay with that. I'm like, okay, like maybe this is my future, and I have to be okay with it. And then,
and then here I was.
Because I was very big on like that connection. I didn't want to force it at any point. And I think the best thing that we did was we kind of took it slow in the beginning. I mean, I know timeline wise it sounds really
quick,
but
it's super fast. It's always fast.
But in terms of like,
but like everything happened so naturally.
It was very natural.
Nothing like forced. We didn't like, okay, maybe today I should hold his hand and today we should have our first kiss. It's just like everything just flowed so well, and it was like at a really good pace, and like everyone, we were both like really comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
Well, anyone who likes checklists may hate you for that because they really want to check those boxes.
For sure.
What's the best and worst qualities?
The best and worst qualities. Okay.
Yeah. So obviously, sprinkle in the compliment and then throw them under that bus.
Yeah. Let me get my diary 1 second.
Absolutely.
Come on, we talk about this like all day.
I complain all the time. I should know this. Let's see. Well, there's so many great qualities. What can I pick? I think one of my favorite qualities of him is that regardless of what he's going through and, whatever mood he's in, he's always making everyone smile around him, and he always makes sure to take care of me, even if we're fighting and whatnot. And if I'm really pissed at him, he'll still take care of me and he'll still be really sweet to me. So that I hope doesn't change. But I think the worst quality is how messy he keeps my room. And I have to constantly complain, like, please clean this up, please pick up your stuff, please do this. And it would take him like a month, and then I end up doing it.
I'm not even arguing that.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely messy.
It's so messy. I don't know how we're going to live together in the future. Like, I'm going to have my separate room and he's going to have a separate room. You keep it as messy as you want. Yeah.
Well, maybe having separate bathrooms is the way to go.
For sure. Yeah, he spends way too long in the bathroom. So yeah, I think I would want a separate one.
Yeah.
Well, the results show. I mean, if you were gonna ask who the attractive one in this couple is, people are leaning towards there over there.
It's okay, you can have it. What is it?
Oh, my answer. Oh yeah.
It's like, wait.
I was like, yeah, I forgot what we were talking about. I'll go with worst quality first.
Nice.
So you want like top 5 or
whatever you want to spill, we're all listening.
Okay, I feel like there's this is like, because I'm looking at it from like a personal training standpoint, and this is how our dating life started. Initially, it started off with like personal training advice. It has taken 8 months for her to finally get started with eating healthier, and she made some changes along the way. I'm not saying that she wasn't trying, but now she's becoming really proactive because wedding's coming up and like we have 5 months. The only
reason why
the motivation is there. So it was something that was really important to her and she really wanted it, but like the necessary steps weren't being taken. So in terms of like just this topic alone, I'm saying,
I guess I did make my I don't have time excuse every single day.
Yeah.
Which is true. I do a lot with my life, so I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I like to sleep in.
Easy. I'm sorry I took so much time out of your life to talk about your story.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, for my time will date anything.
Anything for you guys. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I guess it's maybe just being if you're understanding what your priority is, then like take the necessary steps towards it, and that will help for anyone in anything that they're trying to achieve. Best quality, I guess without getting into too many details, this has been, not this year, I guess last year was probably one of the toughest years of my life because of a lot of reasons. And I think things started, spiraling downhill after the first month that we were dating. So at this point, like we didn't know each other that well, and things weren't as solid. We still really liked each other and we were talking all day and everything. But the second that happened, you kind of just assume that anyone would be thrown off when they get into a new relationship. They're like, okay, like I didn't sign up for this. I wasn't expecting this to happen. But like this girl was, she went the opposite way. She's just like, this is my opportunity to just show how much I could support him. And if I love him, then I will, stand my ground through anything. And she had just had this hope and this confidence that whatever it is, he's going to get through it. We're going to get past it. And we'll get to a point where we will be happy in our relationship. And all of that just made things so much more solid between us, because I got to see that side of her. She got to see a different side of me. And going back to like why I chose to propose, why we chose to go ahead with the wedding so soon, is because like we got to see so many new sides of each other during that time, and that just made things more complete.
Yeah, sometimes time isn't linear, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you think 8 months is not the same for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really sweet what you just mentioned, because even though you're vague on what was happening in your life, don't need to be any more direct there. That kind of compares to everyone else's struggle, where sometimes the people around you don't specifically know what you're going through, but they're there to support you, hopefully. And that's kind of the journey. And really happy that you guys got, it's good that you went through that in a way, you know, notwithstanding, but really happy that you're at this point in your life, because a lot of people who have been there and a lot of people are going to be there can see this story and be like, that's great. And we're going through that too. So I'm really thankful that you got to share some of these moments, even if they're a little vague, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, without sharing too much, that's basically why I think that's her best quality, because it kind of made our relationship what it is today.
All I can say now is, are there any last words?
I think I know a lot of my friends who are still single and just like they're afraid to put themselves out there, and you should, because if you don't put yourself out there, you're never gonna find someone. No one's gonna come knocking at your door. So if you want to do something, go out there and just do it. Whether it is signing up for a dating app or just like messaging, taking that first step and just messaging him and just be like, hey, give me some workout tips or whatever the hell it is. You just got to make those moves and don't just wait around. So yeah, even whether it's a pandemic or whatever it is, you never know when these things are gonna end. So just go out there and live your life.
Awesome, thank you. And obviously, this is a dating focused podcast, so there is no shame in people who do not want to go down that avenue. But because that's what we're talking about, that's why your advice is as such.
I mean,
I once knew.
If you want to stay single and you want to focus on yourself, I am all for it, absolutely. But if you want to go the other way, yeah, go for it.
I remember this person when I was in university, and she was pretty cute, and that's why I talked to her a little more than I should have. But she was always like, I just can't wait for like this knight in shining armor to just like open a door for me, and then it'll work. I'm like, girl, I'm right here. But you know what I mean. Like there are certain. It's like there's supposed to be like they have these little stories in their head.
Yes.
Like a lot of people in general. So. Hopefully they get out of that story and into the real world a little bit.
I was gonna say, like, I guess to add to what you were saying as well, I think people have this kind of perfect vision for love and relationships, and it's not perfect, and that's the reality of it, right? If you're looking for perfection, then you're gonna be looking your whole life. People want to be like 100% happy with with somebody when they find someone, and there's gonna be a lot of like ifs and buts as well, and that's, if you really do like that person, if there's that natural connection, then you somewhat have to overlook some things as well.
Yeah. There's non-negotiables which you can't overlook, but I don't think everything should be a non-negotiable. Like there's things that you can compromise as well. Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like just give people a chance, right? I think people move on a little bit too quickly as well. Like you don't have to force anything, but definitely give someone a chance, like maybe more than a first date, more than a second date. Try to get to know them a little bit more. Normally people open up a bit more after like the third date, fourth date. That's really get to see that person, and you got to give the connection a little bit of time to build too. It's not going to be instant sometimes.
Yeah, that's great.
For us it was though. For us
wow. Well, once again, congratulations. I'm glad you found what you were both looking for, and hopefully it goes farther than just the complexities of the pandemic and the wedding and all of that, and everything else is fruitful, of course. Love is blind, it's messy, but through all these experiences, when you meet people through apps like myTamilDate, we hope to bridge those little unbridgeable gaps and hope everyone meets who they're looking for. Absolutely. So thank you very much for sharing your story.
Well, thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. Thank you.